gentlemen, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me again today. We are in Daniel chapter 4. I'm going to read verses 8 through 10. What has happened so far is Nebuchadnezzar has had a second dream. He calls for an interpretation. No one can. They're baffled. And so verse 8 begins, "At last, Daniel came in before me, his last hope, he who was named Belteshazzar after the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And I told him the dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, chief of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in you, and that no mystery is too difficult for you. Tell me the visions of my dream that I saw and their interpretation. The visions of my head as I lay in bed were these: I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and its height was great." So next time we'll take a longer look at this dream, but I want you to understand the moment here. So in this baffling moment walks in Daniel. He's the man of God on the scene, but Daniel lives during some really, really challenging times. He is a captive in a major metropolitan city. He's been re-educated at a liberal university. Government legislation is now forcing him to participate in heretical and irreligious spiritual practices. They've even given him a new name with new pronouns. That's an overstatement, but you get the point, right? He is the overseer of all the magicians and the astrologers and the seers in all the land. And he's about to have an interaction with the king who worships himself. Literally, this king has erected a massive golden statue of himself and demands that everybody in the land, the known world, worship him. And we have terminology that describes what's happening here. This empire, it's possessed by the spirit of Babylon, the spirit of Babylon. You know, this period of time is the birthplace of that terminology. It's talked about in the Bible, by the way, from the book of Daniel all the way through the book of Revelation. And this spirit describes any corrupt system that works in opposition to the Spirit of God. If you look back over time, you will easily detect its work. It works through nations and governments and philosophers and religions and even individuals. It was present in the time of Sodom and Gomorrah, of course, and in more recent history, we've seen its work through nations like Nazi Germany or North Korea. It will work through organizations that traffic drugs and humans. But sometimes it works a little bit more covertly than overtly. And recently we have seen expressions of this spirit in curriculum taught to our kids, the planning that's going on behind political narratives, and media platforms that are entertaining the minds of our families. The spirit of Babylon has been and always will be around us. But then there is God's man right in the middle of it all. He is noticeably different. Even Nebuchadnezzar can detect it in Daniel. He says, the spirit of the holy gods is in him. Now, while Daniel is governed by Babylon, he has been re-educated by Babylonian professors. He's been renamed after a Babylonian god. Here's what he does. He remains resolute. He is led by the Spirit of God and remains in the world, but not of the world. Gentlemen, I think our time is becoming more and more like this. I mean, we're watching the intentional and systematic expansion of the spirit of Babylon in our time. And what we need today are more men who are sold out for God than ever before. Men who are led by His Spirit. So I want to invite you today to invite God's Spirit to give you direction. Just direction. Because today might be a day that you're called to stand before someone possessed by the spirit of Babylon, and you're going to need God's Spirit to help. I love you guys. I hope this has blessed you today. I hope you'll share it with someone you know. And with that, I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.